doesn't ever get any easier. If you are a process person, meaning someone who finds the journey of exercise motivating enough to show up for it regularly, then getting your 150 or more minutes per week of moderate intensity cardio is enough to know you're on path with this part of your exercise, and it might become the only cardio thing you measure once you establish your routine. How many minutes did I do last week? And what am I going to do with this week? I happen to be filming this video on a Monday, and I'm already percolating on my own process, starting from zero once again, and considering my various work and life responsibilities this week and how they intersect with my exercise. It never ends, and that's a good, healthful process. We are big proponents of doing and tracking enough because in this modern world, more isn't always better. It can just make you feel overwhelmed. But the true spirit of trauma-informed is to remain non-dual, or just open to different things working for different people. And in that sense, it is worth acknowledging that some people are more goal-oriented than process-oriented, and that isn't a bad thing. You may even find yourself swinging fluidly between them, and that's okay too. With this framing, I want to empower you with the tools to periodically evaluate your cardiorespiratory fitness in a goal-oriented way that has evidence supporting it, similar and in alignment with the physical activity guidelines. One of the primary metrics that you can measure that evidence supports as health promoting and chronic disease risk reducing is maximal oxygen consumption, or VO2 max. In layman's terms, it is a measure of how well your body uses oxygen during intense exercise. A higher VO2 max means your body is better at taking oxygen from the air and delivering it to your muscles, which helps you produce more energy. In scientific terms, it is the product of your cardiac output and arteriovenous oxygen difference. Here comes the lingo. It's okay if this goes whoosh. I had to look this stuff up, honestly. Cardiac output is the product of stroke volume and heart rate. A stronger heart pumps a greater blood volume with each beat than a less strong heart. Arteriovenous difference represents the amount of oxygen that is taken up from the blood by tissues during one systemic round trip, as measured by the oxygen concentrations between arterial and venous blood. Okay, that should wrap up the terminology for now. If you take nothing else away from that, I would suggest that a good takeaway is that VO2 max is measuring something very real and connected to your heart and lung function.
Proper VO2 max tests are performed in a laboratory setting while wearing a special mask to measure the concentration of oxygen and other gases you breathe in and out during the test. Not very practical.
But because VO2 max has been studied so thoroughly in labs, many at-home or field tests have been designed that have a very strong correlation to the lab tests. Certainly good enough to self-assess and measure your own progress every 6 months or so. Some smartwatches use an algorithm to estimate your VO2 max over time if you give it enough data from enough different cardio workouts. But I generally dislike this because an algorithm is a kind of black box whose inner workings are difficult to understand, even if they were valid. When it comes to interpreting health information, I think it's pretty important that a person understands how this information was arrived at, or at least knows that the person explaining it to them knows how, in a way more transparent than the algorithm did it. A field test, by its nature, is a pretty transparent measure of performance where you'll be able to see how you do and understand how your score influences your estimated VO2 max. No black box needed. The bottom line for now is that periodically testing and improving your VO2 max can play a big role in your health, and for the goal-oriented person, this can be very motivating to show up and do the work. In upcoming videos, I will be showing you how to perform and interpret VO2 max tests using walking, biking, rowing, and running in ways that are accessible, time efficient, and in some cases quite moderate in the intensity level. I'll see you at the starting line.